Welcome back to the Her Fertility Podcast. In today's episode, I am going to share a very vulnerable experience I had when I very first started as a fertility doula. And it's a little embarrassing. You might have heard me tell this story before, but it's definitely a lesson that I learned the hard way, and I am sharing it with you today. So let's just rip off the Band-Aid and get into it. Welcome to Her Fertility, the podcast revolutionizing the way women are supported on their fertility journey. I'm your host, Jess Tims. With years of supporting women as a fertility doula, I've seen the emotional pain caused by infertility, including my own struggle with unexplained infertility. And I always knew there had to be a better way to support women with their fertility health and healing. If you're ready to find a new perspective for your fertility journey, then press play. If you've been listening to the podcast or following me on social media at herfertility.support, then you know that I am doing this because of my own experience with infertility. It took me over 2 years to get pregnant, and during that time, I medically had no reason why I shouldn't be getting pregnant. I had the classic unexplained infertility. And while there was absolutely opportunities for me and my partner to improve our fertility health, we were generally very healthy people. I had a regular cycle. All the things were normal, but we weren't getting pregnant. And in that 2 years, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about energy and the energetics of fertility and all of the beautiful stuff that I work with my clients. But in that experience, I felt so frustrated and so alone. And once I did get pregnant and I now am a mom, I looked back on that experience and I just thought, wow, that sucked. That was really terrible, and there has to be a better way to support women through that. You don't expect to be on that journey, but if you are, we have to have a better way to support each other. And so that is what really sparked my interest in becoming a fertility doula. And I did all my research and I really wanted to get certified because while I had my own experience, I didn't know the experience of others, right? I didn't know things like what it's like to have PCOS or endometriosis or pregnancy loss or use IVF or any of those things that I didn't do and have the experience of it. And I also really value knowledge and training and certifications and, you might not know I used to be a college professor, so I really value education. And so I found a certification that I could do online, and it was a fertility doula certification. But like most all fertility doula certifications, it was an add-on for a birth doula already. So this was designed for somebody who's already working as a doula to add fertility on. But I was like, I don't want to do the birth stuff. I just want to support people in the fertility stuff. And the certification had great information. I learned some stuff about different fertility disorders that I didn't know before. And I felt more equipped with my piece of paper to support people on their fertility journey. But the reality was, at the time, I was not ready to actually support people through their fertility journey because, frankly, I was no better than Google at that point. And this was before AI, right? We had the internet. It wasn't that long ago, but we didn't have AI, but we still had a lot of information available. This was a time when social media really started to turn toward the online expert, which I never wanted to be. I really wanted to have the research and the knowledge. And so that's why I got certified. But what I quickly learned was I was in no way equipped to support people in the way that they needed to be supported. And so I'm going to share this story with you. And if you've been hanging out with me for some time, you may have heard this story, but I'm going to give you some more details around it because I don't want this to be you. If you want to get into supporting people through their fertility journey, or if you are on a fertility journey and you are looking for somebody to support you, I don't want this for you. So I have a friend who's a high-risk pregnancy doctor. She's an amazing, incredible human being, and I love and trust her very much. And she knew about my certification, and she was so excited for me to start working with people. And she recommended that I talk with this woman. I will call her Sarah. That's not her name for confidentiality. It's really extremely important to me that people's stories remain anonymous if they want them to be anonymous. And so we'll call her Sarah. But my friend, who's the high-risk pregnancy doctor, gave me Sarah's information, and I reached out to her and I said, hey, I'm Jess. I'm a fertility doula and I can support you on your fertility journey. So let's hop on a call and I can learn more about the type of support you need. And I will never forget this. We were in Tucson visiting my in-laws for the holidays, and I snuck away to the bedroom, like the guest bedroom, to take this call. And I'm so excited, right? Because it's like my first potential client call. And I'm all ready with my notes and everything. And I get on the call with Sarah, and she's not very talkative. So I felt like I needed to ask a lot of questions. And she finally said, how can you help me with the pain that I'm feeling after experiencing a stillbirth? And I froze in that moment. Because the reality was I had no tools. I had no way to support her with the pain that she was feeling after having a stillbirth. And I'm sure there's somebody out there listening saying like, oh, well, that's not people's normal experience. Like stillbirths don't happen that often, blah, blah. Regardless, it was the experience she was having. And she was brave enough to get on a call with me, who was claiming to be able to support her. And I couldn't, because I didn't have the training to do that. Now, in a case like this, you could argue, well, she needs to see a therapist. And yes, I am pro therapy also. I think that there's definitely a place for therapy, but there's also a place to be held and heard by a fertility support professional like a fertility doula who is actually trained to support you. And so in a case like hers, I would have now recommended that she seek out the professional advice of a therapist and work with me as her fertility doula, because really the combo for her would have been both. But in that moment, I can see it so vividly and still feel what it felt like to be fully unable to help someone. And I felt terrible. 1, for her experience, and 2, that I had no way to support her, and 3, I didn't know what to do. And so I hadn't been set up from my certification to know how to support her. And so the call ended pretty quickly after that. I just said, look, I am so sorry for your experience. I don't have the tools to support you through this, and I'm more than happy to research therapists in your area that can support you with this. And that's how that call ended. And I'm happy to report she was able to get pregnant and deliver a healthy, happy, beautiful baby who she is now the mother of, and she's trying again for baby number 2. And her story is rare in that it has a very happy ending. Not everybody's does. But for me, the biggest takeaway was I never want that to happen again, right? I want to have the tools to support someone who is going through something hard, right? And I also want the tools to be able to support someone when they're trying to get pregnant and it's just not happening, right? So I want the knowledge and the emotional support tools, but I also want the awareness to make a recommendation for a licensed professional like a therapist when that's warranted also. So it was kind of this three-pronged need that I had, and that kicked me into really learning and finding the information I needed to be more effective at supporting people. And luckily, I had many more clients behind her that gave me the experience of working with people and really showed me what it is that you need on your fertility journey. Because the reality is everybody's journey is different and everybody is unique. And so what you need on this day might be very different from what I needed during my journey, right? And it changes. And you know that if you're experiencing infertility, some days you wake up and you're super optimistic. Some days you wake up and you're like, I cannot get out of bed because this feels very terrible. Some days you wake up in tears, right? And so how, as a fertility doula, can I support you in a way that is actually supportive, right? That was the question I was asking myself. And so I learned all kinds of things. I learned about the nervous system. I learned about the mind and the subconscious mind. I learned about Reiki and energy healing. I learned about Eastern medicine and the practices that they use and the philosophies and lenses that they put on fertility that we in the Western world don't understand. I learned about how the human experience is so deeply embedded in this fertility journey and how that impacts all of your relationships, the relationship with yourself, your identity, who you are in the world, who you want to become, the relationship with your partner and who you're choosing to do this beautiful journey with, the relationship with your family who has a lot of expectations, right? The relationship with your friends who want to be supportive but don't necessarily know how. And so this was really the thing that I've been doing for the last 4 years, is really diving in. And the beauty about having the opportunity to work with people through their fertility journey is I've been able to listen and hear what they need. And there are some specific things that they need. They need to be heard. And there is not a space for people to be heard on this journey. Now, you might find a beautiful corner of the internet somewhere where you do feel heard. You might find a support group or some type of online forum where you can connect and resonate. And I'm grateful for those spaces. I have the fertility support circle that we hold that space in a group, and it is beautiful. One of the biggest challenges, though, especially with an online forum, is sometimes you get stuck there. And sometimes you get stuck in the negative spiral, which can feel comforting in the moment, but isn't always effective at getting you out of that negative spiral loop. So as a fertility doula, my work is to gently guide you out of that negative spiral, right? And to really hold that space for you so that you can process the emotions and then move out of it. And this is true for fertility doulas all over, who are effectively trained at holding space and really being there for you when you're experiencing infertility. Because the reality is, infertility is a journey you did not expect to be on. And it's one that's really hard to navigate by yourself for many different reasons. But I really believe it was never meant to be navigated by yourself. I really think that infertility is sometimes the first time in your life where you are required to get support and help and like acknowledge that this would just be a whole lot easier if you had help and support, right? And so that is how I got started in this. And that is why I created the Her Fertility Doula Certification, because the certification I got is not one that I would recommend to anybody else to get, because it's all it is information. And you don't need more information. We live in an information rich time. We can access information at any time, and it's so much more about the human connection and really cultivating how, as a fertility doula, like what tools do you have to hold space for someone, to connect deeply with someone. And that is all inside the Her Fertility Doula Certification. And it's why I love it so much. And it's why we're opening it again at the end of February. And so if you are interested in learning more about becoming a fertility doula, I, of course, would so love you to experience this certification because it is so beautiful, and it has the tools to not only give you the knowledge that you need, but also the emotional support tools that you need so that you can go out into the world and support others through their fertility journey in a really meaningful, impactful way that actually works. And you will never have to get on a call with someone and not know what to say. You will either have the tools to support them, or you will have the awareness to recommend a licensed professional for their situation, or you will have the knowledge that they need to just move the needle a little bit, right? Because everybody needs just something a little bit different, and you will have all of those tools coming out of this certification. And I am so excited to open it up again for enrollment. The really unique thing about this certification that was also really important to me is that I walk with you through it for 90 days. So while you have lifetime access to the certification, and you can take as long as you want getting certified, I will be with you for 90 days so that we are in it together. We have live office hours, we have live training calls, we have this community of other people in the program that is so beautiful and supportive. And what that 90-day container does is it gives you so much more than just the online information and the online certification part. It gives you your own support network that you need in getting certified. And one of the many reasons that I do it this way is when I became a fertility doula, it was really lonely because I was the only one. And there's not that many of us out there. But the work that we do is really impactful and powerful. And when you can share that with other people, not only do you get better at what you're doing, but you can see how other people are doing it and you can learn from them too. It's like this beautiful web. And I would love for you to be a part of that web. So please click the link in the show notes to learn more about the certification, to add yourself to the priority list so that you will know when enrollment opens and you can jump into the next 90 days with me because it is going to be so awesome. I have added some really neat things to the certification for this time, and I am beyond excited to share those with you. And if we aren't already connected, please come find me on TikTok at herfertility.support, and I will see you there.